Royal Challenge sports drink. Game for life.
This is TV18 and you're watching CNBC TV18.
Presented by National Stock Exchange.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.
Hello and welcome to another episode of NSE Fin Wiz powered by CNBC TV18. Today we're in Bangalore and we're shooting with the employees of one of India's leading specialty retail companies, the Titan Company. Established in 1984 as a joint venture between the Tata Group and the Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation, Titan is the fifth largest integrated own brand manufacturer in the world. Titan, best known as India's pioneering manufacturer of quartz watches, has also etched a niche for itself in some of the most competitive spaces in the fashion industry, such as jewelry and eyewear. Precision engineering is another area that Titan specializes in. Backed by over 7,000 employees, 2 exclusive design studios for watches and jewelry, 10 manufacturing units and innumerable admirers world over, Titan continues to grow and set new standards for innovation and quality. Focusing on our theme for the series, NSE Fin Wiz visited Titan in Bangalore to gauge thoughts and notions of young professionals on investments and financial planning.
So when I hear investments, it's almost synonymous to me with saving for my future, and currently that saving is going into paying off my education loan because I'm straight out of college. So at this point of time, investment is equal to savings for me.
Initially, I used to do it as per what my parents used to suggest, but now I do take advice from a wealth management firm. I mean, it's not a firm, it's basically one person who's a financial advisor, and yeah, then they keep on telling you whether you want to do an LIC or what all is missing in your financial plan. So if you have to do a medical insurance over and above your official medical insurance.
If I have 1 lakh rupee, then I'll definitely buy 50% of the money I'll invest in gold, and 50% of the money I'll invest in mutual funds and maybe an LIC policy.
My question for the financial experts are, could you help me with what is mutual funds? Do we get good returns if we invest in mutual funds? And what's the best way to invest in the sense that, you get good returns for future by investing not very much, but minimal, but with good returns?
We're now joined by our 2 very special experts. We have Mr. Lovai Navlakhi, who's the founder and CEO of International Money Matters, and we have Mr. Anil Rego, who's the founder and CEO of Right Horizons Financial Services. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here. Anil, first question to you. What is financial planning? How does one go about doing some correct financial planning?
Like the word suggests, financial planning is about planning for your finances, and you typically do it over your full life cycle. So you come back and see what are your priorities, understand them, set targets to those, then look at it in terms of inflation where it is, and then come back and say, okay, how do I match it with investment products right now? So that whole exercise is that you're planning for all your needs on a life cycle basis.
Okay. Lovai, tell me some of the, there are some words that we hear, we read about, which are associated with financial planning. One is goal setting, asset allocation or diversification. So starting up first, what is goal setting?
I think everybody goes for a holiday. So when you plan for a holiday, you don't sort of wake up one morning and say, today is a Saturday morning, I have a 3-day weekend, I go to the airport and let me take the first flight that's going out. So I need to plan in advance that I know that weekend's coming up. That's my goal, that I'm going to enjoy myself over those 3 days. And I know that will involve my taking a flight. I'll go and search which is the best flight to take, what's the cheapest flight to take, and then also book a hotel, plan for the family if there's somebody needs to take leave. So it's all of that when you're planning for a holiday. So it's similar when you're looking at your life goals. So life goals, I think for a lot of people who are youngsters, they think that, they need to plan for their life goals only when they get married, only when they have kids, maybe only when the kid is in the 9th standard. But I think that everyone has life goals right from day one when they start work. Possibly they are contributing something to their family for their expenses. They need to plan for that. For sure, everybody needs to plan for retirement. And I know it sounds like, why should I plan for something that's going to come up so much later? But it's like chasing 300 runs in a 50-over game. So if you decide, no, it's 50 overs, there's a lot of time, 10 overs I'll play maidens, then I will start hitting. That's the problem you're going to have if you start planning much later.
So basically setting your goals, kind of deciding what you want to achieve at a later date. But Anil, the big confusion is for young professionals now in their late 20s, early 30s is, number one, the goals keep changing obviously, because currently, so for example, I might not be married, but how do I start planning for kids when I'm not even married yet? So how do they, because then it's looking like this huge task. So how can you make it easier for them to correctly do some goal setting?
Yeah, you need to start looking at it as to what are your goals as of now. In the initial years, you may not have the goals which are crystallized. So that is something that you need to work with. And keeping that in mind, you also do your financial planning and you have your investments a lot more liquid, because some of these needs may actually come in later, but they are definitely there. So, just an example, if you're not yet married, and then you have to plan for your marriage, and then after that maybe you need to plan for the children's education. So you need to actually plan for it in a way which is simple initially, have it a lot liquid. Maybe in the initial years you can look at tax planning investments a lot, so that you also save tax in whatever you're doing. Plus you are also building up a capital there. So initial years, look at it to build up a capital, and then leverage it as you go forward and the goals get crystallized.
Okay, great. Lovi, I want to talk about asset allocation. So again, asset allocation, there are a number of assets. Anil also spoke about having a lot of amount of money as liquid. So there are some asset classes that are more liquid than the others. So just briefly, just touch upon what are these main asset classes, and then we'll get into how they can and who needs to invest in what asset class.
Yeah, so essentially what happens is that very broadly, the asset classes start with whether they are physical assets or financial assets. So, you could probably invest in property or buy gold on the physical asset side, but on the financial asset side, you could put money in fixed deposit or buy stocks or buy mutual funds. So the first thing is physical versus financial. After that, within the financial, you will get into what is equity, so what is risk investment, and what is supposed to be non-risk investment, which is the debt investment. And then within that, within each of these categories, you have further sort of classification.
Right.
So I think those
are the broad ones. And then let's talk about one asset class first, which is debt. So debt is one of the, generally people like it or go with it, which is the very basic one is for fixed deposits, FDs or RDs or even savings account. But is that the good way to go? Why not just keep all my money in FDs and not look anywhere else?
See, the issue that you have with FDs and RDs and the traditional investments is that they're very tax inefficient. The second is, the returns on them may not be beating inflation. And you put both of them together. So even if you get a 9% at a good time, 30% goes away as tax if you are in the 30% bracket. Right. And then on top of that, you need to beat inflation, which is, a reasonable number. So you may not be even, you may be actually eroding your capital. You may not be even growing your wealth. So that is one thing that you need to keep in mind. And if you're not growing your wealth, then you need to bat much more. You need to yourself generate that income towards all your needs. So on the other hand, if you look at assets which also grow, they are tax efficient in the long run. They may be a little bit risky in the short run, but they will help you ensure that money is also working for you apart from yourself.
Okay. So let's talk about equities, because that's another asset class which is also, well, some people call it volatile and it's called risky. That's why very often there's always some friend who's given you a tip and said, buy this stock, it will double, triple, quadruple, and you end up with 25% of your invested amount. That is the general perception. Just clear this out for us. How should one get into equities and by way of mutual funds or direct investments?
Yeah, so I think first thing first that, many people tell us that, a friend of mine told me something to buy and then he forgot to tell me what to sell. And I keep asking the person who tells me this that, are you really sure he's your friend? Because if he's helping you buy something, he should also tell you when to sell it. So I think the simplest way for people to start investing is mutual funds. It's got a bad name because probably go and select the wrong mutual fund or the wrong sort of investment class to invest, to start with. But if you were to simply look at diversified equity mutual funds, they are a very safe way to invest. The safer way to make it even safer probably is to ensure that you invest on a regular monthly basis. So there's a concept known as rupee cost averaging. So basically what you're doing is that if you do not need money over the next, say, 3 years or more, and you decide that you're going to save 10,000 rupees every month or invest 10,000 rupees every month in a diversified equity mutual fund. So month on month, on the fixed date of the month, you may decide 5th, 10th, whenever, depending on when your salary comes in, that you invest that money, whatever is the value of the market and therefore of that fund on that day. The number of units are calculated based on that. So 10,000 divided by that price, those units get allocated to you. And there will be periods when the market's going up, so you're getting fewer units. There are periods when market's going down, you're getting more units. But the idea of rupee cost averaging is just that if the trend is upward, you are almost certain to make money. So that's probably the safest way to start investing in equity for the younger people.
This is NSE Fin Wiz powered by CNBC TV 18. It's time for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
When moods change, I change. I'm always changing.
Panasonic air conditioner with Eco-Navi technology intelligently senses, self-adjusts and saves up to 65%.
It's one touch to change the future.
A better life, a better world.
Panasonic. Welcome to India's business newsroom. CNBC TV 18 is India's #1 business news channel in 2014. CNBC TV 18, 14 years of business leadership.
How do we create an education system that is future ready?
एक महत्वपूर्ण विषय लेकर आप काम कर रहे हैं.
Watch India's top minds put forward their views on schooling India for a better tomorrow.
India has the brains and you should be proud of those brains.
On the new Indian Express Think Edu Conclave 2014. At these times.
Presented by Airtel. Co-presented by Sastra, official travel partner Air India, gold partner Vasan Eye Care, and JP Group, silver partner Galgotia, Yes Bank, and Genesis Global School.
Bye, Sahab.
I think the biggest story in consumer India is the pace of change of women right across the board.
In mindset, the belief is that if you target women or girls, you might keep out men.
We try to what we call create a new reality.
I'm not asking for a bland and boring advertising, but using the creativity, can we do something?
I think there's an evolution in many areas, but where reality takes over is in cinema.
You think you understand women, but then every woman in the country is not the same.
I do think that men and women face exactly same challenges. It is your never say die attitude that makes a difference.
Storyboard brought to you by Raindrops Basmati Rice and Eco-Navi Air Conditioners.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Tata Crucible Corporate Quiz 2013, the national finale of Tata Crucible. It's time for us to move straight into the battle here today.
This week, Tata Crucible completes the final leg. 8 national teams from India's biggest corporate houses don their thinking caps to win the coveted national final at these times.
A knowledge initiative by the Tata Group. Leadership with trust.
How to give an interview on a busy workday. Call a friend and tell him to bring your Ford Figo as planned. Get in. Get comfy. Sit up. Your interviewer is here. Get back. Your boss still doesn't know you're out. Ford Figo. Smart is the new cool.
Welcome back. You're watching NSE Fin Wiz powered by CNBC TV 18, and today we are shooting with the employees of Titan Company. Well, we can't call every mutual fund good. What mutual fund is good for that person? So how does one pick a mutual fund that is correct for oneself?
I think the first thing is to look at, what are you wanting to do? Are you wanting to take risk or not? So if you're wanting to take risk, then you go to the equity side. If you're not wanting to take risk, then you go to debt funds. Of course, one needs to keep in mind it's not as simple as a bank FD. So the debt funds also have maybe almost 5 or 6 different type of or different categories of funds within debt itself. So it makes it a little bit complicated. So a safe thing can be just to look at liquid funds or short-term funds. Still, you get a little more aware of things. So that's the first point as to what asset you want to put it into. Today you also have the option of using gold. So as an SIP in not a physical asset, you can also invest into gold. So you decide on what is the asset allocation, and then you look at within it what do you want to do. Now let's say equity. Equity, maybe I want to have some bit into large cap, some bit into mid cap, and then you get down to within large cap what is the right fund. Look at long-term screening parameters, how consistent the fund is. Let's say over the last few years, not just the last 1 year return. Probably the next year when you have held it, it will probably do badly. So look at a bit of a consistency, long-term objective, and then you go and decide and say, okay, out of these 3 funds, I think I'll put my money into these 2 funds. So it's good to also diversify because all the funds may not do well. What you're looking at is past data. So you need to, you don't know what it will do in the future. So it's best to diversify, and then you have your funds and your buckets in the right places. Similarly, you should also do it for the debt funds as well.
Lohi, I want to talk about SIPs, systematic investment plans. But the always trick is, people might say, okay, I don't have 5,000, I don't have 10,000 to put in every month. How should I go about with that? So, because that's a big deterrent to people, that every month 10,000 or every month 5,000 is a big chunk that gets out of my pocket. I know it's going towards investing, but I don't have money left at the end of my expenses. How can they work around that?
So the minimum amounts are not that large. They are even smaller. Even 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees is possible. But the simple thing I would advise youngsters to do is to actually try and do some sort of budgeting. And if they've not sort of done budgeting, they can just look at their bank statements and figure out what is the amount that they are saving every month on a regular basis. And with what is available in your sort of regular saving, if there is no major expenditure item coming up in the next few months, then look at least 60 to 75% of the money to be invested. You can decide where to invest at the next step, but at least make sure that the habit is created for you to put aside that money. It's not available for you to spend and swipe on your debit card anymore. I think that's the most important thing. So once you get that money out of your bank, it's starting to work for you.
Let's talk about insurance, because that is another thing that comes up February and March. That's when I think all the insurance companies get their most policies. How important is insurance, life insurance and health insurance? Do I need it or can I do without it?
Definitely, for most of us, you have people who have been chasing us, to buy a policy or the other. And we probably get into a shell and say, I don't want insurance. Okay, somebody's trying to sell to me. But a lot of the time, I think we need to reflect, especially if we have dependents, as to, in case I'm not there, how does my family manage? And what I've seen for many people, there's a huge deficit in terms of what the family would actually need. So you would be actually putting your family to risk if you don't have the right cover. Now, there are different options that you can use. You can use the term cover, which is, I think, the simplest, and especially in your initial years, I think the term cover is the best thing to do. You can it's very cheap. The only thing is you don't get returns back on it. You may take 1 crore of cover, and it may cost you just, let's say, 25,000 rupees. Okay, so in case something happens, then the 25,000 rupees that you put in that single year, okay, not even on a monthly basis or anything, then get your family back that 1 crore of rupees. So I think that is the first building block. And maybe subsequently, if you want to look at maybe very secure need like children's education, that's when you probably look at some of the other investment plans. But you always have the option of doing a term plan separately and keeping your investment separately. But I think very important to ensure that your life cover is taken care of. Similarly, also medical, because medical costs are very high, and it's especially important if you don't have cover from your company. Even if you have cover from a company, you need to keep in mind that you're probably not going to keep working there forever. So, if you end up moving to some other company which doesn't have medical, then you have a huge issue. Medical costs are probably, in my view, a larger financial risk than even life cover costs, because we'll also see it during our lifetime.
Lohi, another asset class is real estate or property, which is again very favorite for us Indians. So, but again, the big question is, when you're young, you're just starting in your first few years of your career, in real estate is a big ticket investment, plus even if you take an EMI, that's a big chunk that goes out. So is it good to get into real estate at such an early age, or just wait till maybe you're in your 40s, 50s to maybe get into that?
So, tough question, and I think everybody has different sort of behavioral traits to decide whether all my money goes, 95% of my money goes in real estate or 5%. I think if I look at real estate from an asset allocation point of view, which means I need to have certain amounts in all different asset classes, and real estate is one of them. So yes, it may make sense to have some real estate investment. It's definitely a no-brainer if you're buying real estate to live in. So if you're buying a place where you're going to live, and if you like all the surroundings, you like the price, go ahead and buy it, because you're not really buying it to sell. You're buying it to live in it. Yeah, at a later date in future, as your family grows, you may sell it. From an investment point of view, I think you have to be a little careful about the amount of EMI that you take, because you invariably tend to invest with a loan. You're not investing with surpluses at a younger age. You're going to borrow money and then do that. And we know that over the last 10, 15 years, there have been occasions when job markets have been down, people have lost jobs, and they're stuck with an EMI, and they actually have had to either forfeit the house or forfeit a whole bunch of other living expenses or other sort of, necessities of life. So be a little careful before you invest in real estate, I would say.
You're watching NSE Fin Wiz, powered by CNBC TV 18. It's time for a short break, and on the other side, the audience puts forth their questions to our experts. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
बेगम, ताजमहल जरूर बनेगा, ये शाहजहां का वादा है।
400 साल से सुनती आ रही हूँ, ताजमहल बनेगा कब?
जाओ, कहीं से भी ढूंढ के लाओ जमीन। नहीं मिली क्या? मिल गई जापना। इतनी सी जमीन।
प्लॉट्स, ऑफिसेज, फ्लैट सब है 99acres.com पे जहाँ पना। बाबर रोड, हुमायूं रोड, अकबर रोड, फाइनेंस भी है जहाँ पना।
प्रॉपर्टी जो बिकती है पहले यहाँ दिखती है। Buy, sell, rent at 99acres.com.
From home furnishing to lifestyle products, National Textile Corporation unveiled its 5 prominent initiatives in New Delhi with an aim to provide quality products at affordable prices.
The textile sector, as you know, is the second largest employer after agriculture. The 45 million people associated with it, contributing to 14% of the GDP.
NTC presents Weaving 5 Stories at Once, at these times only on CNBC TV 18.
I love cars, and I test them to the very limit, and sometimes beyond.
I have your weekly dose of news, analysis and exclusive happenings in the automotive sector.
I've tested every motorcycle launched in India for the past 13 years. I help you make the right buying decision. I am Overdrive.
I am Overdrive.
I am Overdrive.
Servo presents Overdrive at these times.
Overdrive, presented by Servo, add life. In association with Ford Figo.
CNBC TV 18 now brings you the greatest investment opportunity. 3 books that'll change your relationship with money. 16 personal finance principles every investor should know. A book that introduces the basics of money and investments. How to be your own financial planner in 10 steps. Your guide to wealth without the complex formulas. And 11 principles to achieve financial freedom. A book that'll empower your wealth creation. Master your financial life. SMS CD Master to 51818 or mail us at cd@network18online.com.
क्या है मैडम? पेपर स्प्रे। कोई तुम्हारे साथ फनी बिहेव करे ना? Straight in the eyes. We all need one nowadays, हाँ? तुम्हें भी अपनी सेफ्टी के लिए कुछ करना चाहिए। हम काला टीका लगाते हैं। काला टीका? Like वो बुरी नजर टाइप्स। Education problem, guys. छोड़ो ना। Actually, मैडम, educated लोगों को भी लगाना चाहिए काला टीका। Oh, really? Excuse me. जागोरे, 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 जागोरे। वोट किसी ऐसे नेता को दो जो हमारी सेफ्टी के लिए कुछ करे। सबके लिए चाहे।
हम औरतें 49% वोटर्स हैं। अपने मुद्दों के लिए वोट करो, 49 के पावर के लिए वोट करो। टाटा टी गोल्ड।
Welcome back. You're watching NSE Fin Wiz powered by CNBC TV 18. It's now time to go over to the audience as they put forth their questions for our experts.
I had a small doubt since I was in school days. I've seen my father investing in stocks from my early days. I just wanted to know, one expert says you go on and sell this stock, and the other channel, if you turn on, they start saying that no, you should hold it and you should sell for maybe after 2 or 4 months. So is it we should take this stock investment like a short-term investment or a long-term investment?
Yeah, so I think when you invest in stocks, you have to be clear about what is the purpose of that investment. Ideally, you're buying stock, which is basically buying ownership of a company because you believe that you're going to make great gains in that investment. I don't really subscribe to the view of doing short-term trading. Invariably, the broker makes the money. You may or may not make money. So it's good for you to invest from a long-term point of view. Having said that, I don't think you need to, sort of buy it and forget about it saying this is long-term, because cycles change. The stocks which are in favor at one particular point in time may suddenly go down. So let's take an example of certain companies which are very strong financial companies, but they are in, let's say, in the commodity or the steel business. When commodity prices fall, the stock price falls. That doesn't mean the company is doing badly. It's still probably making profit, but the rate of growth has come down. So something else is doing better. So I think it makes sense for you to look at stocks from a long-term point of view.
My doubt is, I'm from technical background. I don't have much knowledge about all these financial terms. So if I have to invest, or even if I have to choose some financial expert, what all basic things I should know before investing?
Maybe the place to start is to get yourself aware a little bit. You have a lot of financial portals, so that you are then able to make an assessment of maybe which financial advisor to choose or which investment to make. Okay, since you say new, maybe start off in small ways, take low risk, especially if you're doing it yourself. Do it in a measured way, and over a period of time, you build it up. Again, some simple tips of saying that maybe at this point don't look at directly investing in stocks. Look at mutual funds as a route, because if who is a person who should invest in stocks is somebody who is able to track stocks on a daily basis, or at least track industries, how the performance is, and then say, okay, this is a time to buy, this is a time to sell. Now, if you're doing it in a mutual fund, you can just a simple, easy way say, okay, this is the index. Now, is it a good time for me to buy, or this is a good time for me to sell? And again, possibly use disciplined investing. I think that's a very important way of starting out. Use disciplined investing through systematic investments. I think that is what will not go wrong. So even if you're doing equities, then do it systematic investments, and have your asset allocation right. Take as much risk as you need to take, and I'm sure you will do well.
Thank you so much for that, experts. Thank you, Anil. Thank you, Lovai. And thank you guys for having us here. Thank you so much. Well, that's all the time we have this week on NSE Fin Wiz, powered by CNBC TV 18, with the employees of the Titan company in Bangalore. We'll be back next week. Until then, from the entire team, many thanks for watching.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Presented by National Stock Exchange.